Maimer Vav. In my sefer, it's Parag Zayin, but I have a feeling that in there it's Yud Aleph, Yud Beis. Ubematan Torah Nemar Vayichan.
What page?
So what page is it? I just
317?
It should be 318.
318?
right. So we are
3 lines from the top.
right. Yeah, where is it? For Ubematan Torah Nemar, and the
318?
It was very nice to do it.
What 318?
these farm were donated by Mr. Rothenberg. Leila Nishmas, Yaakov Yosef ben Shafsek on your father. Shamash Aben Aliyah. It's a tremendous chus, and it'd be a great thing if everybody took a looks inside, even though right now I'm going to do a little bit out of the sefer. Still look inside. Still look inside.
318, third line.
Because we started something here.
318.
Yeah.
But let's just go over quickly. Ubematan Torah Nemar Vayichan. Matan Torah, 3 lines from the top. Matan Torah Nemar Vayichan. We all know that there was a tremendous achdus at Matan Torah. Ki ish echad b'lev echad from the singular lashon of Vayichan, the non-plural Vayachanu. Shehu yichud kol hakneses Yisrael, and this refers to the concept of Knesses Yisrael. In Knesses Yisrael, one of the names for the Jewish people, we explained, which refer to the Knesses Yisrael, as opposed to the Bnei Yisrael or many other things that Jews have been called. But the Knesses Yisrael refers to the fact that they are machnis. They take all of the loose phrase of thread which exists in this world, and the Bria, which were created because of the Alma de Piruda. And the Alma de Piruda is the most beautiful thing in the world, that everything is separate. It's very beautiful that you and I look different. It would be so boring if we all looked the same and acted the same and talked the same, and everything was either a table or a chair. So the Alma de Piruda is what makes the world so beautiful. Is what makes
in music, that's a harmony. That is different things sounding.
But yes, and even before you get to the harmony, the Alma de Piruda, the instruments and the notes themselves have to be distinct, one from the other. They can't flow. Or else you end up playing guitar like me, where everything flows one into the other. Like, this is very beautiful, but it's not the Alma de Piruda. The Alma de Piruda is that ding, like that little note. So the beauty of it is fine if it all comes together as a concert, and then it becomes a concerted effort for Malchus Hashem. This is the name Knesses Yisrael. Tie it all together at the bottom. This is the Hashros Shechina. This is the Malchus of Hashem. This is what took place at Har Sinai. So Vayichan Yisrael Neged Ahar wasn't just that we were ba'achdus, that somehow miraculously we got along when we never got along before, we never got along after. Somehow this mountain inspired us to put our differences aside. No, we put our differences together. We didn't put our differences aside. We put our differences together, and we said, you're different than I'm different, but this is an Alma de Piruda, and we need the Shechina, and this is what happened at Har Sinai for a moment, until they got involved with the Egel, etc. There was a moment, and that moment, let me just remind you and stress, was Pascha Zumasa and Shel HaNachash. The Nachash is very involved here. Pascha Zumasa and Shel HaNachash was the effort of the entire world population, from the time of Adam and Chava through the time of the Avos, was all about undoing the chet of the Eitz Hadas. And this could have been a moment of undoing the chet of the Eitz Hadas. Means it could have been Geula. Geula. the Golus that we were thrown, Golus means we were thrown out of Gan Eden. It could have been over. We could have been back in Gan Eden. Golus means that we're being mal in the tzaitzais. We're picking up pieces from all over the place. That's what Golus means. But when we pick them all up and we bring it all together, that's already a massive of Geula. So that's the Vayichan Yisrael Neged Ahar. So if you'll say this Raza De'echad on Friday night, or even if you don't say it there, it says from the Zohar that the Raza De'echad, the secret of Shabbos, coming after the Sheishis Yemei Gracious or the Sheishis Yemei Piruda, is to tie it all together, embrace all of the different Bria of the week, both globally, internationally, and personally, because personally so many different things happen during the week. And to tie it all together is Malchus. So now you take the energy of Matan Torah and the energy of Shabbos and you put it together, you've got Gan Eden. You've got Gan Eden. Yoyim the Kagar tells Jesus Halal Bilvavish and Yisrael with Matan Torah. Nachtifer Dezarach Miseir Lomai, that the Shechina itself was shining from Esav. Har Seir, we explained, is on the right side of the Sinai Peninsula, which is, Klal Yisrael was there at Har Sinai, somewhere in the middle of the Sinai Peninsula, the Sinai Desert, and this was all the way to the east. This was the mountain of Esav. That was where Esav lived. Shechina, ma koi b'seir, fragt the Gemara. What is the Shechina doing with Seir? Because the answer is, let me say it in my words, because not only we were in Galus at this moment, but Shechina begalusa. And where is the Shechina when it's begalus? What does that mean, Shechina begalusa? Nobody's tying it together. What do we do when we're in Galus? We're mal the tzaitzais. That's our job in Galus. We're supposed to be going around, call it kiruv, call it gilgul, whatever you want to call it. We're mal in the tzaitzais. We're bringing the world together. That's the tachlis of Galus. Tachlis of the Shechina, begalus is to do the same thing. So, ba'koi be'esav, b'seir, what was he doing in Seir? He was doing the same thing we're doing, the Shechina. It's
gathering the sparks.
Gathering the sparks. What was he doing there? What was it Seir? Hu klipas hakas, ba'aritzicha. He's working with kas, ritzicha, Galus items, Esav items. Shekol HaSherish Hara Bazeh Shemimenu HaReishis Goyim Amalek. They were busy creating Amalek from Sinai. Amalek was a grandson of Esav. So from Sinai and from Ritzicha. Sherish Hara Da'akum. So what was the Shechina doing there? This is the big mystery. The mystery is, what was the Shechina doing with the Ritzicha? Because those are nitzotzos that have to be brought up. Those are nitzotzos which also have to, they're the most external, most peripheral of all of the possible nitzotzos, but you got to pick up pieces from there too. From the kas, from the Ritzicha, from the Sinai. Ki yadua, as we all know, the Mitzayra nishtalech chutz lamachana Yisrael. That if one is a Mitzayra, and again, how do you become a Mitzayra, Gil? Lashon Hara, it's Motzira. Pirud. So the Mitzayra can't be part of Klal Yisrael. You're Vayichan Yisrael. You're dividing apart. But understand how Shli'ta caused the fall of Beis Hamikdash. So that there's no geopolitical idea that, well, obviously we don't get along. We're not going to be able to have a war against the Romans. How are we going to fight against the Romans if we're all going in different directions, which we were? But at a deeper level, the Beis Hamikdash is the Shechina. The Shechina means Vayichan Yisrael. It would have been a Har Sinai situation.
So that's it's not the fact that it was Shechina. It's the fact there was no how. So the nonsense Shechina was what's getting
That's what they are, no? Like in other words, they were fighting against the Vayichan Yisrael and Neged Ahar.
Group.
And when you're doing that, you have a golus situation, and you can't. Meaning, very simply, you're not tying it all together. you're promoting the Alma de Piruda instead of that, which is the Golos work, instead of that's God's work. Instead of doing Shabbos, the Shabbos is where you bring it all together. So see, that's Shechina, Beis Hamikdash is where you bring it all together. One Kohen, one mountain, one Klal Yisrael. That's where you bring it all together, and the Shechina was blowing it all apart. So the Mitzorah can't be part of Machan Yisrael because he's making a period. He's fighting the Vayichan Yisrael Neged Ahar. This is the struggle. So to the Mitzorah we say you have to go Chutz La Machana. So in the case of Yerushalayim, the Gemara says in Pesachim, there's special places where Mitzorahim can hang out. We have bars for them. There's a Mitzorah bar. Mitzorah has to walk into the bar and he's Tamei Yikra. Hello, I'm Tamei, I'm allowed to come. That's what he said. When he walked into a chasana, they had to grab the mic, commandeer the microphone and say, Tamei, I'm Tamei Yikra. Because I'm mafrid. I'm mafrid. I have to be chutz l'machna. I can't be part of the machna. Ki eina roi liyos v'machna Yisrael. Ukemai, B'nai Dan takes us back to the B'nai Dan, the fascinating B'nai Dan. Shepoltam ha'anan, and this is the enigma or the paradox of Dan, Shevet Dan. Because Mitzad Echad, as we pointed out, they were the Garua Shebeshvatim. They were carrying the Pesel Micha. They were Poltam Mina Anan. They were thrown out of the Anan, Shevet Dan. Don't like Dan. And Mitzad Sheni, says the Torah, and the Gemara expounds on, that they had a very important function outside of the Anan, and that they were ma'asef l'chol ha'machanos. They were picking up the pieces. Not just the pieces of pottery or the rings or the silverware, but ma'asef, why did they fall out? They were picking out the neshamas that could not somehow exist b'toich ha'anan. That's wild. There were certain neshamas, and Dan was ma'asif l'chol ha'nachmas. He was picking up those pieces. So I want to mention again, the Gemara says in Brachos Nun Daled, here, this is Parak Haroya. Haroya is the Mishnah. Haroya Makim Shenasa by Nisim Yisrael Aimer Baruch Shas and Nisim Laveseinu B'Makim Hazeh. If you see a place where Nisim, you can see this in Eretz Yisrael, right? In places where Nisim happened to Klal Yisrael, there's a bracha that you say Shas and Nisim Laha Voiseinu B'Makim Hazeh. So the Mishnah tells us that if you see Makom Ma'abrois Hayam, if you see the place that we cross the Yamsuf, you make this bracha. Ma'abrois Hayarden, you see the place where we cross the Jordan River into Eretz Yisrael, make this bracha. Shnasab Nisim Laviseinu Bayom.
Just there on the tour last week.
What? You saw the place where we crossed.
And the ends too. They took us to a place. The Christians are there. It's a guarded area. It's near Yericho, and it's about 10 meters wide. The Yarden at that point. It's just it's mud. It's not even flowing. But they said that's where they came into Eretz Yisrael. I don't know, Pashas. How would you know that that's the place that you have to make the bracha?
You were standing by Mitzvah Yericho.
No.
If you stand by Mitzvah Yericho, by the way, which is one of the most wonderful experiences of Eretz Yisrael, that outside of you don't go to Yericho, but outside of Yericho there's a Jewish community called Mitzvah Yericho, and Mitzvah Yericho looks like an innocent, guarded or gated community because it's in a difficult place. But if you just drop up a dirt road for maybe 10 minutes, and you look down, you see like something that looks like the Grand Canyon. It's like the most amazing thing, which we have in Besaira. It's just an amazing thing, and you can see that it's all mountains, and it goes down, and you can see that the water comes through. If you look yonder, you see the Yarden, where supposedly Klal Yisrael crossed, according to our Besaira, and then you can see how they were also, this was one of the drachim that they were oil regel, because the water all came down from all the mountains into this place. So, okay, here's the hard one. Haroya lachal arnoin you make the same bracha. Okay. So we scratch our heads and we say, okay, we know the story of the Yam Suf, but we know the story about the Yarden, right? That takes another level. But what in the world is the story of Nachal Arnoin? So the Gemara wants to know, what's the story of Nachal Arnoin? So it says as follows. Let me just read you the story. Also, if you see, by the way, the Ishtay Shalit, which we have a Besayer where it is not where the tour guides say it is, but if you go down the road another 3 kilometers, you'll see Mamish, the Ishtay Shalit. Maybe I'll take a tour. I'll lead a tour one day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, I should do that.
Chaymas Yerichaish Nivlo Bim Chayma. That's hard to see. Al Kulam Sheyitzar Sheyitain Hadav Shevach Livnei Amakim. Shloim for the Gemara Mahaber Sayom. Exilum Neisrael B'Sayich Hayam Bayabasha. We know there was a miracle there. I know the Gemara bring a pasuk. There was a miracle of Mahaber Sayom. Mahaber Sayard Exivay Abdu Hakoyhanim Noisei Aron Bris Hashem B'Charova B'Sayich Hayarden. There was also dry land in the Yarden. B'Choy Yisrael Oivrim B'Charova. Kamu Kol Hagoy Laver Sayarden. Meaning the Kohanim stood in the Yarden, they held the Aron, and the water split. Maybe it was more than 10 meters of water. The water split, but it was Be'yabosh, it was a ness. Elamavreis Nachle Arnoin Minolon. What's the ness of Nachle Arnoin? Dichsiv. Al-Kain, Yeomar, the Sefer Milchamois Hashem, as Vahev Basufa. Right? So that's, here, Chaim, take the Chumash. You want to get the Chumash? Just find it. Bamidbar. Bamidbar, Parakhaf Aleph, Pasuk Yudal. Puzzling, thank you very much. Puzzling part of the Torah. Vayisu b'nei Yisrael vayachnu ba'oivos, vayisu b'oivos, vayachnu b'yavarim, b'midbar asher p'nei mayim b'mizrach hashamesh. This was already in the end when they were coming close to Eretz Yisrael. Misham naso vayachnu b'nachal Zored, misham naso vayachnu b'ever, Arnoin Asher Bamidbar Hayoisei Migvul Amori. Let's say the Amorite area is the Jordan area around the what's now the Dead Sea. And that's Ki Arnoin Gvul Moav. Moav is more like Syria, and Jordan. Ki Arnoin Gvul Moav Bein Hamori. What's important about this, by the way, is that it's a very little fertile oasis there, Arnon, which today is a big place to go swimming and things for Jordanians. and there's a waterfalls there, and there's water that comes. It looks like Rosh HaNikra if you look. So we traveled to Nachal Arnoin, and we had a miracle in Nachal Arnoin. Al Kain Yomar b'Sefer Milchamas Hashem. If you look it up, says the Chumash, such a strange pasuk. If you look it up in the book of Milchamas Hashem, what book is that? I don't know. Which library has it? I don't know. Al Kain Yomar b'Sefer Milchamas Hashem as Vahe b'Sufa ve'es Hanacholim Arnoin. Perplexing pasuk. As Vahev Basufa, and therefore, because of the nest, which we don't know what the nest is, of Nachal Arnoin, it says in the Milchamas Hashem a Shira, and the Shira says, Al Kain Yomar b'Sefer Milchamas Hashem as Vahev Basufa. So, what does it even mean? So the Gemara says,
Mountains.
The
Mountains. They smashed the.
So it says the Gemara, as Vahev Basufa Tana, as Vahev Basufa. Like, read it this way. Read the Vav as Vahev Basufa. Read the Vav as a Vav HaChibur. And you had S and Hev. Shnei Mitzrayim Hayu Dehavim Mahalchim B'Seif Malchim Yisrael. They were two Mitzrayim that were thrown out of the Machane Yisrael, as we're learning, and they were walking behind Klal Yisrael. Es and Hav. Pleased to meet you. Two guys. Es and Hav. Can you imagine having a name like S? We don't even know what S means. S. Hav. So they were both Mitzrayim. Avim Mahalchim b'Seif Malchut Yisrael. Ki havi kochal v'Yisrael asa b'Roy. When Klal Yisrael was traveling, the Amoraim, of course, did not want us to go into Eretz Yisrael. So they said like follows: let's do an ambush of the Klal Yisrael before they get into Eretz Yisrael. Avdi lahud nekirusa. Let's make nekirusa Rosh Hadikra. Right? Nekirusa. Ba'arois, Rashi says, Ba'abrois nachle arloid, Ebek avuk beit beis harib givai v'ha Yisrael tzricha laver b'oisei Ebek. If you look, by the way, you could Google this. There are nachal arloid, two big mountains, which stand like very, very tall, with rushing water between them. And the Amorites said, let's dig holes and go into the sides and in the cracks and the crevices of these two mountains. And when Klal Yisrael, we've got them covered because they're going through the whole Klal Yisrael, a few billion people, are going to have to pass through this kind of gap in the mountain. And that'll be a place where we'll come out of our caves and we'll attack them. And we'll kill Klal Yisrael and stop them from going into Israel. It was a war strategy against the Amorites, against the Jews, the Amorites. So Avdi Lahuna Kirusa, V'tashu behind will hide in them. Amri, and they said, Ki Chalf Yisrael, when Klal Yisrael travels through here, not Tulinun, we'll kill them. It'll be a major am. So I'm guessing there was probably many thousands of Amorites ready to ambush the Klal Yisrael going through. Loi Havi Yadid, they were missing a piece of strategic information, the Amorites, and that is the Aron Havimaski Kamid Yisrael. At this point in the history of Klal Yisrael, we had an Aron. And the Aron Kodesh was walking before Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. And this was Vayi bin Sayah Aron. What was the Aron doing before? It was doing Nissim, clearing the. It was the trailblazer. The Aron Kodesh was the trailblazer for us, making sure that nothing should happen to the Klal Yisrael. What are the things that it should do? Hamimamech luhuturi mekamayu. That when Klal Yisrael would be coming, so the Aron did a miracle of flattening out the mountains for Klal Yisrael, so it should be easier for us to walk. So here's all these Amorites sitting in their crevices of the mountain, in their caves of the mountain, and ready to attack with their weapons. And the Aron is giving out its beams, saying, okay, flatten this out, and boom. All of the two mountains came together and flattened for Klal Yisrael. You don't want to be there. So all of the people from Amori that were going to attack Klal Yisrael, says the Gemara, this was the Ness of Arnai. It's a Ness that Chazal wouldn't tell us this happened, we wouldn't know it happened. Torah Shabbat Penes. Agufa Kasha. Ness. Loi Haviyadi, the Aron Havimaski Kamayu Yisrael, Havimemech Luhuturi Kamayu, Kivin Dasa Aron, Idbukutur Bahad Hadadi V'Katlina, and killed them all. Benochas Damayu Lenachle Arnain, and their blood, there was so much blood there of our enemies that the blood flowed like a river mixed in with the Nachal Arnain. Now Klal Yisrael didn't know anything about this because they just walked through, not realizing the danger that they were in, and not realizing how they were saved by the Aron. So that was a walk in the park. They didn't chop the whole thing. But Es and Habe over here, they chopped it because they were the Mitzrayim that were Bachutz, and they Kiasa Es v'Habe Chazu Daba de Kanafik B'Beidei Turei. They saw the blood that was flowing down the mountains, rivers of blood. What a sight! V'Amr Lahu Yisrael, and they told Klal Yisrael. They figured out these two Mitzrayim what had happened, and they told Klal Yisrael was these two Mitzrayim that told Klal Yisrael what they just experienced. Okay? It happens to all of us. That we were in a tremendous miracle. You could be in a plane. There could be a tremendous miracle happen. We slept through it, and they don't even tell you. Almost collided with another plane. We turned upside down. The engine failed. Okay, soft.
Because they were Yadun, because they were outside.
Only because they were outside. So here you have. Just occurs to me as a lawyer of subject. Here you have a case of the B'tzaira, which is chutz. Rav Tzadok does not bring this Gemara. Strange. Here you have a case of a Mitzayra, two Mitzayraim, with strange names that Chazal decided that this was their names, Es and Hav. And they were standing chutz lamachana, and because they were standing chutz lamachana, they were able to see a miracle that nobody can see. It's like when you're like Ein Bal Hanes Makir B'Nisai. Chazal say, if you are part of the nest, you don't know you're in a nest. A person doesn't realize when you're in an environment, you don't realize what the miracle of the environment is. You don't realize the extent of the environment. It's only when you're on the outside of the environment you say, wow, that's pretty amazing. So we didn't realize that the miracle that we were in, and it needed somebody from the outside, two people, Es and Hav, to tell us what kind of miracles we were experiencing in Nachal Arnoin. And you make a bracha on this, you make a bracha on this, and Klal Yisrael said Shira. When they heard from these two Mitzrayim, they said Shira. Amru Shira, Hainu Dechsiv Eshen an Necholim Asher Nata L'Shavas Ir, Nishan L'Gvul Moab. All these Shirois V'Tishbachos that we said in the Midbar, it was just an amazing thing. So.
Does the Gemara say where the Milchamas, Sefer Milchamas is?
No. So there's a debate in the Rishonim. What in the world the Sefer Milchama is Hashem? It's not just, some say it was a Moabite book, some type of a history sefer. It's not often quoted. What is the Sefer Milchama is Hashem? Shamati, I'm approaching dangerous ground here, but Shamati, that the two Mitzrayim, B'Shem the Mekubalim, the two Mitzrayim refers to the historical Mitzrayim of Yeshu HaNoitzri and Muhammad HaYishmaeli. Shtei Mitzrayim that were not allowed into Klal Yisrael, which is because they are Tameh, because they're bringing division in Klal Yisrael, and because they're wrong. So they're standing with two false prophets that couldn't be part of the Machane Yisrael, as hard as they tried, by the way. But nevertheless, were able to influence collectively almost the whole world, right? Except for a few Hindus here and there. Christianity and Islam. Somebody was saying that the Muslim extremists is only 9% of the Muslim population. 9% is something like 40 million. It's pretty big. They're pretty big. Christianity. I'll tell you the remez that who's the mathematician here. Yeshu Yudshin Vav. I wrote it down on my way here. Is 316, and Muhammad is what? Save you 48 and 42 is 92, and together equals what? 316. I'm sorry. Together equals 401, 408. 408, right? You're good. S, Va, Hav. S is 401. Hav is, Habez is 7. So we're up to 408. And another 6. right? Do I right?
No.
Oh, four away.
Without the dot. Without the dot. S
No,
and
S and
S
A.
and Haber, 408.
Like the Gemara says. 408. So, Avodabaru. S and Have. It's not S and Vav. No. S and Have is the same thing as Yeshu Luchaber. Just saying. So where there's Kabbalah from early generations that the Shtebet Seiroim, S and Have, which are Yoshe B'chutz Lamachana, so it refers to the two of the great, meaning large religions of the world, which were Yoshe B'chutz Lamachana. Okay, like V.S. Mendos, like what's the Omek Hadavar? The Omek Hadavar, I think, is that we're not talking about part of Machane Yisrael. What we're talking about, as the Rambam says, that in the Igeres Teiman, that there was a function to Yeshu HaNoitzri and to, in fact, the whole Christian thing, insofar as that they brought the world from paganism to monotheism, albeit in a Christian sense. So, what happened? What was the Christian story? The Christian story, not the immediate story of Yashka, but the outbirth of Yashka of Paul. What was the story? The story was that they went to Rome, and Rome was full of Avodah Zarah, paganism, Avodah Zarah. This is before the Sefer New Testament. That when Paul came into Rome, so he looked at, they had on every corner, they had a different Avodah Zarah, a different shrine. You know, this is for the god of the sun, this is for the god of the moon, this is for that. And the reason is because they wanted to cover themselves. Well, they have so many gods, they wanted to cover just in case this is not the right one or that one. So every Sunday went to a different church just to make sure that they're covered. And then to make sure that they were covered, they had the shrine, the undiscovered God. So it was the undiscovered God. So Paul said, "Okay, I'll take this one. I'll take over this steeple over here. This is for the undiscovered." So so it's a Christian story of the New Testament. But again, for us, what that means is that the B'tserai, which is basically what Paul was, the B'tserai were to bring, and he was successful in bringing the people from all the other Shtibelach, the Avodah Zarah Shtibelach, to bring them to something much more monotheistic. So this is an avoda. It's not our avoda, but it's an avoda of niflatim min ha'olam, of outside of the Knesset Yisrael, and bringing things into what's the point of this? Because if this is a very deep interpretation, I think, of Or La'avim. Because if you look at it, it's not just like somehow or another we're supposed to be nice when we go to the cashier in Walmart or something and be a light on nations. That's for sure true. But there's something much deeper about it. That is that we are in this nucleus situation, and then there's all of everything that flies around us, which is there to protect. It becomes like a buffer zone almost. So it's hard to look at Islam and say it's a buffer zone. What are they buffering? But it's Gufa. Look at the Machlokes. The Machlokes is the Machlokes of Eretz Yisrael. The Machlokes is the Machlokes of Mashiach. The Machlokes, they're not. This is not about. It's not about money. It's about the things which are dearest to us. Who's the Mashiach? Who owns Eretz Yisrael? Lo Pashut.
Again, Rabbi Yaacov Haber to say that Shulchan Po Mechamor, he says the Amad Amel Chamor, he says they're taka there still, and they have a Masor that he went up the Shemayim from there. He says it means something, he doesn't know what it means, but that they have a Shmir on the Har HaBayis.
Okay, Hashem the Gadol said it. It's hard to say because as soon as you talk like this, it becomes suspect. I have not an ounce of Christianity or Islam in me. I'm just saying the way the Rebbeinu of created the world and created Klal Yisrael as a nucleus in the cell. It's just an absolutely amazing thing, and it's not about in other words, Esav is further out there. So the klipa, there's shalosh klipas hatzmeis. The klipa ripples out to further levels and further levels. The closest klipa is the klipa of a Navi Sheker, of Mashiach Sheker, these are the closest. Fighting mamish b'dam v'nefesh for Yisrael. So that's the bad news, and your chutz l'machana. But the interesting part of it is that this is all part of the design. Like you say, a shmir on the Harabais. This is all part of the design, and that's the Shnei Mitzrayim. Now it leaves it for us to figure out, or you to figure out, how does. So the Rambam says, okay, so they brought monotheism into the world as a real option. It was mamish the avodah of Avram Avinu, and it's not by accident that we're saying on Shabbos that like Esav, his parents were Yitzchak and Rivka, not Yishmael. His father was Avram Avinu. It's not by accident. This is mamish Shvester Kind on a very, very deep level, and they somehow brought Klal Yisrael to say Shira, meaning they were somehow this 408 here was somehow able to, because they were on the outside, they were able to more clearly see the ness of Klal Yisrael, which was on the inside, because ain't Baal Nes Makir Ben Yisrael. Maybe this nevuah wasn't miskayim yet, but you do hear a remez to the nevuah when you speak to a group of Christians, in Tiberia, and they tell you about the holiness of the Jewish people and the holiness of Israel and the blessing of Israel. And the beauty of the whole, and they ask you for a blessing, and you're like, who me? Like what? Holy? Like we came here just to, eat this restaurant, and like what's the? But it's somehow or another the external part of it is ma'or the godless of the internal to come and say Shira, because Shira is a very special kind of a thing. It's not talking about an intellectual understanding. Shira is Shiarei Halev. Shira is some kind of a spontaneous Simon Nafal, some kind of a spontaneous understanding of what it is, that we are. Like all of a sudden, there's like a reality here of what we are, and this reality comes, says the Gemara, or it's mashma from the Gemara. Who brought this? Who brings the Shira? Who brings the Shira? The Shira of. The Shira of Mashiach. Who brings the Shira? The Shira comes from the outside to inspire those that are on the inside. And that's the ultimate, the mashal to this is the ultimate Shevet Dan. Because Shevet Dan was on that peripheral of Klal Yisrael with a very, very important job of being ma'aseh l'chol ha'machnas, picking up all those loose pieces.
It's like Matobu. You say Matobu, which is looking to come from Bilam. And it's a whole mitzvah that if we're not really in the Torah, we just know about the whole incident. We were doing our own thing, and outside of us, there's this discussion going on.
We didn't even know.
We didn't know things going on. There wasn't a Torah. And we didn't know it. He tried to do bad to us. Did succeed, but we were.
Maybe the pshat is for David that such a big miracle. So why isn't it clear, like Kriz Yamsuf or like? The answer is because it wasn't clear b'shas wise. It can't be in Torah Shuvik because it's not before. Everyone knew they were going through the Yamsuf. People didn't even know they were having this miracle.
But Matobu, the whole story about Bill, that's in the Torah.
Yeah, but it's in the Torah, but it's not.
That's actually why we say it, I think, right? One of the reasons why we say Matobu, because we're seeing from the outside how great we are. We ourselves don't always realize that we hear from the outside.
It was less Benister because some people moved in there. Klal Yisrael, the whole. You don't know the danger you're in. Ani amarti b'shalvi b'alam li'oyim.
I don't think it's
Soloveitchik said all the time, it was like one of his things that he said over and over again, that Ani amarti b'shalvi, a person, I'm okay, you're okay, we're okay. Like, you don't know what's going on even inside your body right now. Who knows what's going on? Nobody knows what's going on the outside. Nobody knows the dangers that are looming. Ani amarti b'shalvi, in Shalva we can say, nothing's going to happen to me, I'm invincible.
Okay.
And it's not true. It's but for Hashem's hand that's guarding us.
Do we know why they were in Tzaras or why they had Tzaras? We don't know.
Well, according to this shot, according to this shot, a Messiah wasn't a literal Messiah, but it was because it's interesting. Because on the other hand, they were pirated about it. It was terrible. Yashka created tremendous pyramids.
Well, when was it? Wasn't the same generation? Wasn't the mayor's time afterwards, stuff like that?
Why Yashka?
This is when the time of Mitzrayim. So
Right. If it's a
Talking
Neshama,
about
we're talking about the
that's what I'm
Neshamas.
saying. So it's not the actual.
No, literally, it can't be right.
Did you mention the 408 before? Because I heard it last week somewhere. Abby was on the tour.
Really, no. Just at the 408.
Anyway, there's this place. It's full of Getchkas. And Christian, not Getchkas, but Christian.
Somebody else said this 408. I never heard anybody say it.
I heard it last week.
I heard it was this gematria that I was racking my brain. I was wondering, how does the gematria work? Because this doesn't equal that, and then I realized you put it together, you get 408.
Not the 408, but the two of them.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Oh, I mentioned it at the last year. I said that it's Muhammad and Yeshua.
It's interesting that 4 and 8 equals 13.
Exactly.
Yeah. 4 and 8 equals 13.
Even with the 0. Even with the 0.
Isn't 4 and 8 12?
Yeah, but
4 and 8.
408 somehow brings one to Aflin. What do you want to know?
4 and 8 is
12, but then the 0 you have to count the space.
0. Count the space.
With the coils.
That's it.